We'll wait for everyone to get here. Hello, everyone. I'm glad, I've been meaning to talk about these issues, about some of the power games taking place. And when I see people, they're just like, well, why are we doing this? And I'm like, you don't know the game being played. So I'd like to come and tell us. So my name's Lisa Phillips, for those who are new. I am a spiritual advisor and mentor, ascension specialist, if that's what you want to do, as well as medium. And I like to tell people and empower Black women on this channel. So that is who this message is for. So it is mostly for Black women. Sometimes I put up videos and then take them down because although I want to empower you, some information is just a little too hot for people to know we have and that I'm disseminating. So it's a very delicate game of like giving you guys information about what I see and hear taking place, and not giving away too much, which makes my life harder. I told you. So now that I've been developing my spiritual gifts and abilities since 2016, I got the call like all of you guys. It's at an advanced level. So stay tuned. I'm going to start doing some live mediumship calls where probably in the next week or so when I get some quiet time where you guys can call in and I can just talk to your spirit guides and whatnot live while we're on, or any other past family members that you'd like, because my skills have increased to the point where I don't have to go into deep meditation anymore in order to access that information. So it's easier to do it live because it's right there on the surface. So yeah, so as I gain more spiritual gifts and abilities and powers, spiritual powers, all of a sudden, I could not see the games were being played, but all of a sudden I could. The more power I gained, and I had to exercise caution, restraint, understanding, using it, the more I started seeing how other games are being played. And now it's clear as day. So this one, oh, hey, Katisha. So glad to see you here. So as I see these things and I look at people aren't aware of the ulterior motives and what's going on. So they're like, well, are they doing this to be humanitarian? Like, no, they're getting something back. That is why France and Kenya and the US is right now in Haiti. Yeah, they don't want the destabilization, but trust any help they're going to get, whatever government takes place, they're going to extract that in legal or illegal gains. And so because Black Americans are very different because we had to be sharpened in America. And when it comes to power games, they're some of the best in the world with it. And that's why they've been able to hold their power. So it's very interesting now from my perspective, seeing the games they're playing. I'm like, well played. Very well played. So in this one, I'm going to talk about the power games going against Hispanics, which is sort of obvious, but I wanted to go a little deeper for you guys. Even Haiti, because they're going into Haiti, and it's to help a little bit, but like explain the power dynamic there and why they have competing countries trying to go in there now and broker deals. And also Black men versus Black women. Now, Black people in America, it's very complex. At the end of the day, it's to harvest from us. We're the harvest. They would have their strength, might, cultural influence, be it in the Olympics, be it in the games, be it laughter, be it amusing times, whatever it is, without us. So they know we're a resource, but they've always wanted us to just shut up while they harvest us. And it's different, the resources for women, Black women, versus Black men, because Black men have a lot of uses for white supremacy. Or Caucasian, probably, I guess I have to say Caucasian supremacy. Caucasian, yeah, Caucasian supremacy versus Black women. That's a double-edged sword, but that's more of a wealth generator, right? So we're harvested for our wealth, which is very interesting. Being a real estate investor and having to navigate this, because I had to come up with all these tips and tricks to navigate around the racism in the industry for me and my clients who are mostly Black professionals. And it's just even now that I'm selling, there's all these things I have to do because I know they're trying to harvest my wealth and take as much as possible, all of them. And so that's been very interesting, but it's going to tie into some other stuff. So let's begin. So like I said, as I gain my own spiritual gifts and powers and abilities, now I can clearly see the games that are going on at a high level. And I just want to clue you guys in. So once you know how the game is going, you can play the game. I did one on the Asian community. They really need to start working because they systematically stripped away the Asian community's ability to get into colleges now. Even if they have the top grades, you're going to see systematically their numbers lessen and lessen because they were a threat when it came to that. And consequently, that was the Asian community's largest and fastest way of being above parity because they're some of the highest paid individuals. So they're above, Caucasian society through their education and making that such a priority. And they helped dismantle, just watch the video. But now they have to figure out how to play the game because they just got played bad. And I don't think they realized that they took away their biggest tool, which is higher education. And they're going to systematically start rejecting all of those kids from the top tier schools to get the top tier spots. So I did that with the Asians. But this one, so we're going to talk about Haiti. Then we're going to talk about the Hispanic community and then the Black community. And then I'll chop them up so that you can find each one individually because this is going to be really long. So you'll be able to see them individually. So first thing first, Haiti. It's very interesting what's going on with Haiti. You've heard about the gangs overtaking it. So there's two aspects to Haiti that I think I need to point out. One's the spiritual aspect, and one is like, why are they going in there now? You have Kenyan military going in. You have the United States going in. You have France going in. So I just want to take it on two levels. The first one's a little sensitive. I remember the last time I talked about this, I got spiritually attacked for it, but I'm a lot strong. A big part, there's this myth and rumor that the use of voodoo was used with the Haitian community in order to overcome the French. And that's a big part, and that is a big part of it. However, I know when I was looking into it and I asked my guides about it, what they showed me was they don't want me going anywhere near that. Hoodoo's fine, because that's a different religion. That is Black American slave tradition mixed in with African tradition, mixed in with Indian, Native American, or Native traditions. It's a different set, and they use the Bible as well, but it's a different energy. The voodoo uses, when I asked, they specifically said, well, if you work with them, whatever thing they give you, they take 5. So they were like, nope. You can be curious about all these other traditions. You can read up on them. You can see what they're about and learn about them, but don't do that because they're always thinking and plotting about how to take way more, 5 times more, 10 times more than what they got. And I remember that. So, my guides are great. So I don't disrespect them. So just understand from a spiritual point, if that's who they've been dealing with and they have not, and you have to be very good when you deal with the other side about your contract negotiations. You need to make it airtight. Like you need to say, I want this on this date, da, 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 da. Can you assist with this? And that's it, right? Like you have, and if you're not very good on contract negotiations. They're like, yeah, we'll give you that. And they've already plotted on how to take everything from you for the rest of your life, down in your lineage, even down to the ground. So it's just an important thing so from the spiritual aspect, knowing that that's a big part, not knowing how well they've dealt with those beings who take way more than they like to give, and that's just by nature. Just understand that there's a spiritual energy undercurrent with that. And I don't know what it is, but I know if that's what they've been using, and they were like, nope, you don't even want to deal with them. It's too much because it's always trying to get more than what they give. And I only deal with high integrity beings, like angelic beings, different galactics, but like being of integrity is really big when I do my mediumship. So understand that there's a spiritual aspect underneath all of that. Okay, so that's what I've learned about that religion that is throughout that land. They take way more than they give, and sometimes if they don't stop taking unless you have a really trained practitioner who could really put a stop to it or stop the hemorrhaging, get it back, cut the contact, cut the ties, and knows how to do that. But you need to be very spiritually gifted to do that. I can do it, but how many there's people like me out there, so I'm not alone, because all my colleagues are just as capable as me, if not more so understand there's a spiritual aspect underlying the land there. Now let's talk about the power games. Now we're going to get physical in the power games. Someone was like, why are we going in there, da 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 da? Well, when I heard France and Spanish, so now there's gangs that sort of, when the president of Haiti he's in Puerto Rico right now, he can't get out. And the gangs took over. They all united, oddly, because they've been fighting and sort of having their own territories. They all united and decided, we don't want him anymore. They say he's illegitimate for their own reasons. And this is what I'm going to talk about. Why is France and America? So this is a game we really have to start understanding. Yeah, France and America, and even Kenya is going to go there. But please understand, they're not doing it. They don't want the war and violence necessarily. But if they're going to extract resources. So whatever help they get, and this is the power game I feel like people don't understand. All right, they're going to go. But what is Haiti's largest legal export? And what's Haiti's largest illegal export? They're going to go and help destabilize. And that's why if you heard the talk and rhetoric from the France and America, they're like, okay, if he's illegitimate, who's going to take charge afterwards? Who are we working with afterwards? Because trust and believe, they'll assist with the transition of power. But whatever those things that the United States wants, and I say legal or illegal, because maybe their biggest extract is X, and they're like, you're going to give us preferential rights because they can profit off of it, right? So that's why all these countries are going in. Yes, they want to help, but they want to extract resources. Melanated people are always here for them to try to extract resources, but also illegal, So are we going to see a whole bunch of, if they do get the help, these gangs get in trouble, but all of a sudden, are we going to start hearing about missing Haitian girls? Right? So we always have to remember when these countries go in that it's always they're going to get something. They're not just going in to help, right? And I was just reading all the comments, and no one could understand why. Well, there's fighting here, there's fighting there. Well, there's always a reason of what they can get out of it. So that's just a very interesting thing to think about with Haiti, and just keep an eye out. See, so if you're looking at analyzing this, what is their most legal exports that they'd be able to get at maybe a discount or whatnot? But also, if the US and France or Kenya does help these gangs remain in control and help them become the next power, what illegal things can they harvest from them as well? There's always something. Right? And it might be multiple things, but do not think they're going in there to help for altruistic reason. They are fighting over that place. So it's Kenya, France, and America all trying to help, but trust and believe they're going to be extracting resources. Nothing is ever in a vacuum. So it's just, so that's the game going on there. So it's just a very interesting one. Now, so that was just something I noticed. I'm just like, oh, I wonder what they're going to get from Haiti. Haiti, just like those beings I told you about, you're going to pay for whatever help they give you, and it's going to be paid with the citizens. And like I said, it's both legal and illegal, right? because, like I said, let's hope we don't see missing women and children all of a sudden and no one doing anything about it, right? So just something to keep in mind. A source of melanin for these people. They know exactly what it is. All right, so I'm going to leave that subject. It's just a different transition because each of these subjects are sort of different because there's different moves for each group. But I wanted to talk about the Hispanic community. Oh my God. They've done such an... So Caucasian supremacy really cannot stand the Hispanic community, but it's not outright vitriol like it is necessarily with the Black community, right? I'm going to get to those power games that they're playing and how they've been harvesting us and what we can do with that knowledge and information. The Hispanics did great because A, they were actually hardworking. So for everyone who was racist against them, you had two more who were like, well, I just see hardworking people. The other thing they have going for them is they didn't really try to integrate. And so they came in these large numbers, millions and millions, basically reclaiming the Southwest, right? They were working hard and they didn't integrate. That lack of integration is their biggest power for them. And that biggest power is because since they didn't integrate, they kept all their workers. They built their own businesses. They built their own parts of town. I know in the city, I grew up in Las Vegas in the 80s and 90s, and my neighborhood had turned 90% Hispanic from the time I was like 5 to 10. All the Caucasians left because you know how they do. The Black folks stayed, but it was all immigrants from Mexico, which is why my first language I learned was Spanish because it just made sense since you're surrounded by it. And that's all they taught in school. And, and so they made their communities. And that has been their greatest power. So with Caucasian America, all of this stuff with the abortion, the smormortion, I hate having to say that, not forced birth that they're doing in Alabama, all of that is because they're going to be a minority. All of this is about them being a minority in 2045. They're making moves right now. And with the Hispanics, there's two fronts. There's the money front, them getting jobs that Americans won't take. And the other front is that they're also taking business. And this one actually has been good because I'm going to talk about harvesting in Black women and being able to utilize Hispanic workers to get around that harvesting from Caucasian contractors who are trying to upcharge me and upsell me. But I had maybe a Hispanic guy from Peru or Guatemala who just gave me a fair price. They didn't look at me as through the eyes of supremacy to extract, but just I'm just doing a fair business. So there's a reason I love the Hispanic community. Yes, they're racist and they could be. It's not the same as Caucasians. It's not the same, but yes, they can be. However, because they've stuck to themselves, they've done a great way of making inroads and diluting the wealth from Caucasian America. And Caucasian America, the men are upset because they've stayed, they didn't rise to the occasion the way these others. They actually can't. We've all heard stories of every time they try to ban Hispanics, they leave the fields. They can't get any Caucasian men to come and fill the position. And when they do, they can't finish and work as hard. So they've done a great job. So there's 2 points. I'm going to give you an example. So when and I use this another example. When I'm a real estate investor, so I've done a lot of work. At this point, as a Black woman, knowing I'm being harvested by Caucasian contractors, I'll get so many Caucasian male contractors and white and women too. They're worse than the men, to be honest. And half the time, they will just look at me and assume because I'm a Black woman, I can't afford their services. Not true. Or they'll upjack the price to something because they don't want to work for a Black woman. And I've seen this. And then right behind it, I'd get an estimate from maybe 2 Hispanic firms. It's always 1/3 of the cost. They have a good crew. Well, what I started noticing over the last 12 years or 12 years is the Hispanics workers went from working under the Caucasian male contractor to now it's the Hispanic is the owner. And he put a lock on all of his men. So you have a lot of Caucasian-owned contracting firms and services for all things involving real estate, trillion-dollar industry, and they may or may not be able to get workers. But that Hispanic worker, Alex, Jose, Carlos, they got workers for days. and they can do it. They can make phone calls, and they're actually my source. If I need something, I'll just go directly to them and be like, "Hey, I need someone for this and this." If they like you, like I like you, and it's not hard to be liked by them. Just show respect, right? And don't be uppity. And I'll be like, "I know a guy," but if they don't like you, they won't give them to you. They know they have the human resources that other society no longer has. So before, the Caucasian male contractor would just use them, but really abuse them, treat them horribly because they were immigrants. And so now they can't even get those workers barely. And if they do, there's actually a study that they have to pay. Like there was a thing that at this company, they were paying Black workers 15 an hour and Hispanic workers 20 an hour. So now if they get them, you have to pay them more than anyone else because they don't leave the Hispanic owned businesses. So their lack of integration and building their own businesses and working together so they build their own houses. So they're usually really low in debt, heavy on cash. And I know for me, dealing with the Caucasian supremacy, I tend to always go towards those contractors anyway. So that means all the money and the human resources and manpower that used to flow into Caucasian male American hands in the contracting industry, it's not there. So it's not just they took our jobs. It's like, I give them half the business you guys don't get because you're racist. Like, I can read you. I know you're assuming stuff about me. And maybe like a third of the Caucasian contractors are straight up and fair, but that's a third. So a lot of them are retiring early because they're like, I don't want to do the work. Well, you're not getting any money. You're not getting any business because you don't know how to treat your customers right. And you never did. And now that there's choices, the Hispanic community is where you're going. And so we have to so the power they wield is their lack of integration and now owning all the manpower and owning all the businesses and not working underneath other Caucasian male contractors. I've been in the real estate industry for 15 years, so I have a book on real estate investing, and I have a Spanish version of it. And my Spanish version spells better than the English version, right? Because I'm not stupid about recognizing quality. I'm not a supremacist, so I can see exactly where the money's at. Like, y'all crazy. Not only do I work with them, but like I said, my Spanish translation book actually sells more now than my English language book. So all this time, they've been building their own power by just staying by themselves, but being good workers, fair price. And now they have the lock where you can't even get Hispanic men to work for you unless you pay them more than your other employees. Talk about a turnabout play. They're aware that the money that used to flow into their hands, as I told you, is now flowing into Black business owner hands, Asian business owner hands, Arab business owner hands, and Hispanic business owner hands. So we know the games they're playing, but I wanted to express the power the the Hispanic community has wielded. So yeah, are they racist? Yep. However, do I see them as a very great tool? They have been better than the Black community on creating a thing where Caucasians, they've been trying for 20 years to stop the immigration. But for me, I want more because I'd rather deal with them in business without the supremacy that Caucasian Americans have. I'd rather just deal with them. And the more of them that come here and they stick to their own and they do their own thing, so the less dependent they are on the American system, which means there's more power to do whatever they want, vote how they want. They have a Hispanic boss, just like Black community are like, how come we don't have Black boss? They do. They have people who understand them. I know when people need jobs, they call their friends. They don't, all you people on TikTok, I can't get a job. I applied for 1,400 jobs. They just need to make phone calls. Pretty much all that want to be employed are employed. They're not even in our system. They created their own system. So as a power move for me, would I like to see even more immigrants come? Yes, they're the only thing that and their birth numbers have been the strongest thing to dilute the power of the Caucasian population. And they're aware of this. That's why they're trying so hard. However, it's a double-edged sword if they're using politics, because as much as the DeSantis did what he did, it was all performative. These big corporations rather have those guys there than anyone else. So that's why they've been trying so hard to like stop the immigration problem, but it's not being stopped and it's being assisted because big corporation rules this country. You know, so that's why they've been trying and trying, wondering why, you know, but it's been what? I think they've been talking about illegal immigration since 1992, since I was 6, and I'm 42 now. My birthday was a week ago. And it still hasn't happened because, like I said, they understand the power dynamic and the outflows of money that they had. But big corporations prefer them over the others, over the Black community. Sorry to say that. I'm outside of, like, I'm my own business, so I don't care. But, you know, you need to know what's going on so you can play the game. If they're preferred, if they're getting paid more, understand the game. I would get out of their system like they did. So me and the Hispanic community are the same. We did our own thing. So we're not, they're not controlling. We're not beholden. I'm not sitting there asking them for jobs, right? So, you know, so that's why I can see the moves that they've made. So they've been very powerful. So it's actually, I don't like politics too much because, oh man, it's like a crap sandwich. But the one thing I'm voting for Biden because Black America needs to understand you may not like the Hispanic community, but it dilutes that edge of Caucasian supremacy. So what do you want? Because I know they try to harvest me and my wealth all the times or try to put me in a subservient position, especially lately. Lately, with, like I said, Letitia James being shown up there taking this Caucasian man's wealth of Donald Trump, okay? They they're already feisty with Black women. But now they don't want to help us like do anything. Like the people who are leaning that way, they are seeing this Black woman, and to them, it's like she's a woman and she's Black. You are not gonna seize Donald Trump's asset. I hope she's being protected. I'm gonna do my own little protection ritual for her. Okay, gonna do my own little protection ritual for her. But I hope she understands that the symbolism of this Black woman taking this man's wealth and seizing Mar-a-Lago or Trump Tower to sell, it is for these racists the most heinous thing in the world. And we know they violent, and we know they'll sacrifice themselves for what they think is right. So I hope she's really taking care because I think you guys really need to understand how now she's doing her job and she's doing it fine. I just hope she has protection. I just don't think people understand the nature of the predators in which we're around, the ones who like to harvest from us. If you're harvesting from someone, we're never supposed to come back and take your farm. And they're finding out that we've had to work harder, we've had to work faster, and we had to outsmart. So what? We had to outsmart them. We had to outwork them. We have to know the system better than them to get to these positions. They have not been doing the work of the Hispanic community. They haven't been doing the work the Asian community been doing. They haven't been doing the work that Black women have been doing. So they know something's going on. They don't look at themselves and their own lack of accountability and not stepping up the way we have and us being able to maneuver around them cleanly. But they know they are no longer the only one to be listened to in the room. They know when they walk in a restaurant, no one's going to cater to them. Definitely the idea of when you've been treated with privilege your whole life, equality feels like oppression. They know the money's not going to them, it's going to others who they think is beneath them. And they see this Black woman and these Democrats stripping the wealth of this Caucasian man. I'm just saying we just need to be very careful right now as Black women, Black men as well, but Black women, because they already knew we had mouths. I don't know if you saw Letitia James. She went to go speak at the fire department. I mean, they were outright booing her with no shame whatsoever. They're very much crossing the line. So we just need to know that's going on. And even at the local level, I've noticed there's been a little bit more of contractors coming to my house and like not even giving me a quote. And you know, I deal with racism spiritually, so don't think I didn't get them and their families for racism. There's spiritual reparations for that. So go ahead and read those videos. I've done them on what you can do with that. FYI, I will be doing I saw some people say they were interested in doing a workshop on it. So I'll show you the type of things that you can do when people at work or whatever act that way and how you can, there's a price to pay for that. There is a price to pay for melanated racism, and I stay paid every day. So don't worry, I get them. But I have noticed an intake of they're just like not even wanting to help. They're like, sink. I don't want to help you, which is why, like I said, why I like the Hispanic community, because they may individuals you might find to be racist, but when they're in business, they're not like Caucasian men. They're not about treating people disrespectfully. They're not about being superior. Caucasian contractors have it in their bones. Most people have not unlearned it. And so that is why I think, yes, they're not the greatest, but they're very powerful. They've been very strategic, and they're going to be your alternative because these guys are getting increasingly more violent and pissed off that the thing that they've been trying to harvest is now harvesting them. Okay, so just understand that's taking place right now, and you might see an escalation if you're not aware of this to know when to back down or that you're dealing with a volatile situation. So just spread the word, just understand that's taking place. So that's the Hispanic community. That's been their power, the lack of integration, doing their own businesses. Now, like I said, a Hispanic person who needs a job, they make phone calls, he has a job the next day. I've seen it happen. And one of the guys I dated was a contractor, and he was like, yeah, I was like, why don't you ask the Hispanics, man? They have all the personnel and human resources. He was like, you know what? I did ask one time, and they were able to give me a guy and hire, and I was able to pay him because they just didn't want the guy not working. Yeah, he was like, that did happen. When I called other Caucasian contractor, they're like, F you, why would I help you with the, they couldn't understand that, like, if you help me now, I can help you later, right? But the Hispanics, if they like you, they'll hook you with manpower, and that's a big deal. Being able to call. So that's their power, the Hispanic community. Yeah, they're not perfect, but I welcome more and more of them. I really do. That's why they're going crazy with all these forced births. But, hopefully Caucasian women will listen. If you're going to force me to birth, at least get some concessions out of it, like maternity leave and subsidized childcare. Let's see if these victims, let's see if these women can stop being professional victims and actually do something and get something from their men. But they've been indoctrinated into the society. And, you can say Caucasian men are some of the most powerful men in the world. It's hard when the most powerful men in the world have indoctrinated you to be submissive and quiet and biddable. I will say I have a little bit of sympathy that it is hard for you to break against that programming. However, if you gonna force me to be some birth, and at least make sure you get some stuff, because I can help all of us. Just think about it, Caucasian America. So those are the moves going with that. Now, let's come to the Black community. It is so complex with what the Caucasian power and supremacy towards Blacks, because they know the reason they're so great is because of us. When it comes to the invention part alone, I'm talking from NASA, from IBM, from the first cell phone was 1G. I learned that from this Asian lady on TikTok. The 1G cell phone was made by a Black engineer. Science, technology, engineering, cancer research, scientific breakthroughs. We will do that work and have that breakthrough, and then a larger company will harvest that information and then use it to make millions in profit off of it. But America knows that the melanated people they brought here as, so their wealth when it came in the early, during slavery times, they are, when we win the Olympic and we win half the sports, it's because of melanated people. The best musical icons in the world who entertain, have made people laugh all around the world are from the melanated community. They understand the social, physical cachet from the Black community. Now, they hate some of the other stuff. They hate the crime, they hate the baby mama, and da-da-da-da-da. But I like to say, you should have paid reparations. Now you're paying reparations through the phone of increasing crime. You're paying reparations by supporting a lot of single mothers, who some don't have to work because they get so many government assistance while you go to work every day, right? You're paying reparations. You should have just paid the money. Now you're just paying it. Now you're just paying it in the form of, like, you look racist, and when we say, you never atoned for it. And when we call out the racism, people listen, and you're paying for it because the whole world looks down on you for that. Because I know when I go to Europe, they can't wait to talk about the racism of the United States. They hold that above their heads so strong. But if they would have just paid reparations, they wouldn't have all this. But they didn't. So you're paying in different ways. And I love the karma, because they be getting so pissed off and they don't know what to do. That's because the people on the ground, those low-level people, they don't understand the game. The game is, we're their harvest. It can be cultural, it could be scientific breakthrough, it could be engineering breakthrough, but every single aspect of this country, we were integral or spearheaded or part of it, social, cultural, political. So we're the harvest. But what I've started to notice is that we're harvested differently. Black men are different harvests than Black women. I find that they, if they had to come down to it, like choose as far as usefulness to Caucasian supremacy, man, they really love the physical utility of the black male. They like the fact that they get to be entertained in sports with their prowess. Hours of entertainment. This buck versus the other buck. Playing, gambling, all that. That's hours of fun and amusement for them. They don't want to just get rid of that. They honestly don't. Some of the funniest comedians in the world, on the planet, right? They don't want to get rid of that. Those are hours of fun and entertainment. They get real use. Now they might not like whatever they think is the other stuff with it, races or not races, but they really get a lot out of it. So you have to understand. So yeah, they don't like it a lot, but they actually wouldn't want that source, especially for the men, Caucasian men. They wouldn't want all black men gone, right? Because then they wouldn't win in the Olympics and they wouldn't win in these sports and their sports would be lame and it wouldn't be as fun. It wouldn't be as engaging. They understand it would be mediocre. So as much as they hate it, they understand some of the best musicians in the entire universe came from Black America and that community and those males. They don't want to give up Michael Jackson. So it's very much a complex thing because they are very aware of the social and cultural cachet they have because of our community and intellectual and not being able to stand them at the same time. But it's a different type of harvest with black men. They're not harvesting black men for their money. They harvest black women. And we're going to go into that because they're trying to harvest me, but I know what their game is. So I'm like, no, not at all. Not today, Satan. So that's on that level. Even during like their military and engagements, some of the black airmen were the best and featured of all of them, right? Some of the black American soldiers who went over to help the French were some of the best, right? They're aware of how much we contribute. They don't want to admit it, but they're aware of the cultural value America has because of us. So the thing is, they want us to just be there to harvest and not ever speak up, of course. Now, the interesting thing, I don't know most black women, that's with black men. So they're aware, but the physicality, the amusement, the entertainment, the juking and jiving, yeah, they don't like it, but they love that. They're not giving it up. It's like telling me I can't watch comedians or play sports for the rest of my life. They're not giving that up. Okay. So if they had to choose, they're choosing that. So it's just something to remember when we're doing this. Now, black women. Now, this is the part I've just sort of become aware of. Like, I always known we was harvested, but they know we're educated, right? For just as many black inventors and engineers in that level and sphere, there's been just as many black women engineers and scientists making these breakthroughs. So they know they love to harvest, which is why we do generally get employed in corporate America. First hired, last hired, first fired, but we still do have higher employer numbers when it comes to that. The cultural aspect as well. Best dancers, best singers, most desirable women, that, these icons that they look up to. They have posters on their walls. So many black American music. So our sexuality is harvested. But this is something, we're harvested for our wealth. They know we are the wealth in the black community. So it's interesting as a real estate investor, I'd always hear about the woman who would get screwed over the most in real estate. And it was always like an older black woman. And I'd always be like, oh, baby girl doesn't know she's a target. As soon as they see her, they're like, oh, I can take everything from her. Her tenants would think that, mostly males. I think males are the biggest threat, but others are too. But they know we have the wealth. And so I know even during I'm selling my home and they think they could just get as much as possible out of me. And I'm like, you ain't taking all my equity. You can ask for whatever you want. I'm not giving it to you. Bye. And so they want my house because I really fix my house. It has good energy. I fix it up really nice. They love it. I'm just like, nope, 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 nope. You ain't getting all that. Bye. But like, if you don't know you're here to harvest for your money, you can't protect against it. So they look at us not only for the intellectual, how can we have her in corporate America, not give her any waves, not raises, not elevate her, but keep her there, right? And so there's so many Black women who are leaving corporate America because they were hired, but just not treated well. We were supposed to always stay in our place. But even out in the public, Black women just need to be aware that that is why, when you look at it, whenever Black women go to court, they're paying alimony and child support, right? Like Black women are. The Caucasian judges help with that. They're like, you ain't keeping that money, because they don't want someone this smart to have that money too. So that's real power. Okay. So even the judicial system helps with like some of the craziness we have in our community. They help keep that harvesting, even if it's not to them directly, but to the men, out of our hands into theirs. When you're selling a home or working with contractors, and they see a Black woman, or, I think women get it anyways, they're going to try to push or whatever, but they really do see you as the source to take as much wealth and to lie and scheme as much as possible. Now I work my way around it by just having a diverse set of contractors I go to. So even when I get my car done, I'll get a diagnostic and pay them the $80 to $120 for a diagnostic. I will literally take that diagnostic to 4 different dealerships, ask them if they can do it, and I've saved hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars doing that. But I know when I'm in conversation, they see those prices, they're like, no, we can do this, and that. That's how you get around that harvesting of your information. So that's like when I said those Caucasian contractors would just look and assume I couldn't pay. Trust me, I was cutting 3, 4, 5K checks for a Hispanic company, or maybe a Black female company, or a Black owned company the next day who didn't act superior. Okay. So that's sort of how you get around that, knowing that they're trying to harvest, but being able to, as long as you have options, you don't have to take what they give you. It's just you don't know that they're harvesting you, and that they look at you as a source of money. And that if you go into the court system, they're going to, if they could find some way for you to pay a fine or fee, that's how they view us, So, just knowing that that's the game, it just helps, because I know that that's what they're trying to do. I'm a lot firm and I push back a lot more. Not obvious with my assets. I have to talk to more people, so I don't just get a car, because I went someplace, they're like, why are they doing all that? And it was like a $2,000 less bill because I got more estimates. And so these are just all things. So right now, so just to sum up with Black women versus Black men, we're here to harvest. They harvest in different ways. We need to know what they want to get from each group. And I'm not even talking about X trafficking, which is really bad. There's hundreds of thousands of missing Black girls. So even that part is part of, them trying to just extract as much as they can. That one's a little bit more dirty and underground. And half the time, half the men who are doing it are Black males, but you have white cops and judges who are also involved. So that's more sinister, but it is something to be aware of, right? Once you know and you're aware that that's the threat, the thing is, we're just not aware that these are threats and specific threats to us versus other groups of women. Caucasian women are not harvested like this. They're not the wealth of the community. We are. And so once you know it, you understand what's going on. So I want to go back to Letitia James. I like what she's doing. I'm going to do a little protection ritual for her to make sure she's okay. Her team's up to date and that they can handle, and hopefully they know what's coming. But she is such an example, because Black women can be a little moralistic, right? She is the example for racist Caucasian America of a Black woman who's intelligent, who feels she's morally superior, not knowing her place, thinking she's just as good as a man, doing everything by the book, and being able to best Donald Trump. That's what they're scared of, okay? Because they know we can do whatever we want. We can make a way out of no way. So they keep trying to put us down and keep us in our place, but we never stay in our place. Caucasian women stay in their place. They were indoctrinated. It's hard to break that indoctrination with some of the most powerful groups of men in the world. And they try to indoctrinate us, but they see it just doesn't work. And now we're in these positions where not only does it work, there's no good old boy network. I'm not a boy. So she is wonderful, but she's the epitome of what they've always hated. They don't want us in power, doing their job and not having a good old boy network they can rely on. As soon as we're there, there's no good old boy network. And they know that. And that's their one ace in the hole. That's why, yeah, you can work in corporate America, but we're not putting you above us. I know my own power and strength has been to be self-employed, not need them or ask them for help or anything, having my own wealth and financial independence and not needing them for anything. Don't need you for a job. Don't need to put up with the race. I've quit so many jobs because they were microaggressing. I'm like, I don't need this. I can get another job. And I did, actually making more money than the previous one. So that's funny too. So she's just the epitome of what they didn't want us in charge because they know no good old boy network and they'd have to atone. She's an example of that. And so I started with her and I ended with her for Black women, but there's a lot going on, but she really encapsulates their greatest fear, the dismantling of that good old boy patriarchal system. And I don't know if you know these men, but they can be very violent and very angry and act out. So just something to keep in mind as the balance of power is shifting. Remember, though, racism has a reparation that you can do, but that's the game. So as you go through right now, the next through election, understand their biggest fear was not a Black man. It was us, because we never stopped standing up to them. And they're used to their women just doing as they're told. And we never, ever stopped. And not just that, we constantly push them. Constantly. Right? So sometimes in the effort for the Black male to constantly talk and bash Black women, and they want to jump on that, they don't want us to keep getting out of our place the way we keep doing. So that's what's going on. Those are the power games. Now, the thing with Caucasian America, they're raging it against Asians, Hispanics, Blacks, and the world. So, Schmittler couldn't do it, battle the whole world either at the same time. So that's what they're doing. Keep the strength and power in each group. If they understand what they're taking away from them, they can combat against it, maneuver around it, keep it going, or find other routes and avenues. As Black women, understanding that's the epitome of what they hated coming to fruition, and just make sure we are protecting ourselves and understanding that they're going to, I hate to say this, but they're not the kind of people that just let that slide. You understand? So try to get yourself and wean yourself off that system. Now, what I love is that most Black women are leaving corporate America. They're called the corporate exodus. We're starting our own business for the last 30 years. I've been doing great. I know I've been a Black business owner for 15 years. I've mentored so many Black women who are now, they have networks, high net worths too, because of my mentorship. So not only have a lot of us gotten outside of the system, we've mentored other Black women out of the system, and we're still mentoring them out of the system. We're creating our own systems like the Hispanic community. Both the men and women are doing, the Black women are doing on our own. So that's going to always be our power, just not needing them. Okay. But just understand it's just going to be a very sensitive time for the next through election. And Letitia James, I love her, but she is the epitome of the good old boy network not being able to maneuver or get around, and what they've always were scared of. So I hope she seizes those towers. I hope she seizes Mar-a-Lago, pays those bills for him lying on his tax reforms, but just understand that comes at a cost. So protect yourself spiritually and whatnot. So keep a lookout. I'm going to do a workshop on spiritual reparations, how you can make them pay for racism, and I do every day. And this is for anyone you encounter at your work or job or whatnot. And 2, I'm going to try doing some live mediumship if anyone wants to call in. So I'll just do a live, send out the live stream link. And you can join in if you want to talk to the other side or your spirit team. Either or. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed that. Just keep this in mind. spread the word. Thank you and have a good one. Good night.